Congressman Troy Carter, Democrat of Louisiana. Congressman Carter, first of all, our thanks for joining us tonight. Watching that so-called Justice for J6 rally today, would you agree that the response from law enforcement, conservative media, and even some of your Republican colleagues in Congress would be vastly different if it was, instead of overwhelmingly white Trump supporters and right-wingers, that was a civil rights group or Black Lives Matter, National Action Network out there earlier today advocating on behalf of black extremists who showed up with a gallows and stormed the United States Capitol, desecrated his offices, and threatened Republican lawmakers, including the Republican vice president, with bodily harm, even death. What do you think?
Reverend Sharpton, I think we know the answer to that. We would have a massacre. You would have bloodshed. You would have the kind of atrocities that that would have given us memories of the past, where there were mass beatings of African Americans when we were fighting for civil rights, where there was nonviolence, but we were met with violence and bloodshed. It's amazing that the level of violence that came from the insurrectionists were met with such kid gloves.
Let me go to this, Congressman. I sat down with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer this week, along with Martin Luther King and his wife, Mrs. Andrea Waters King. And as president of the National Action Network, I was there in our press to keep policing reforms prioritized in Congress, specifically those contained in the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. We also talked about voting rights, but we focused on this Policing Act, which was stalled in the Senate since passing the House in June. Now, according to the Grio.com, Senator Joe Manchin and Tim Scott will meet next week to discuss the bill, while Rolling Stone magazine reports President Biden is leaning on Manchin and Senator Kyrsten Sinema to abandon the filibuster so this bill, along with voting rights protections, can pass without any Republican support. Can you explain to our audience the political strategy and the urgency behind all of this sudden activity?
Well, Reverend Sharpton, the reality is we can't afford to wait. And we can't afford to have logistics or gamesmanship deny justice any further. So using whatever resources we can, manipulating the process to make things work, to advance issues that are important, such as the George Floyd Policing Act, making sure that filibustering and those kind of manipulations don't get in the way. We know how important this is, and this is important to our entire society. So people have to lean on their members of Congress, black, white, Republican, or Democrat, to understand the significance of letting justice find its place through this process.
Now let's go to your home state. Congressman, right there where you are, where for months you and other state Democrats have been calling on the Justice Department to investigate the disproportionate use of force and detention against black residents by the Louisiana State Police, often with body cam footage that is long withheld from public view, whether it's Ronald Green's death in custody 2 years ago, the Justice Department now investigating whether the state police covered for the officers involved in Green's arrest. And then last month, we saw footage of another encounter that occurred just 3 weeks after Green's death, in which motorist Aaron Larry Bowman was beaten 18 times with a police flashlight, despite being heard repeating, quote, "I'm not resisting, I'm not resisting," in the graphic body cam footage that was only recently obtained by the Associated Press. I've learned from the AP's investigation that nearly 70% of state police arrests are of black people. What is going on in Louisiana, Congressman?
I think this department has a pattern, a culture of abuse. Listen, all of the men and women are not bad, but we certainly have a culture of abuse that has been allowed to fester And now it's time that we take the necessary steps to remove the investigation from the hands of the very people who are violating. I've asked the Attorney General to do a patterns or practice investigation to determine and evaluate those practices that we have seen oh too often in Louisiana, where people's civil rights have been abused, where we've seen cover-ups that we continue to see each day, each month, a little bit more come out that demonstrates that this pattern and this culture is real, and we have to stop it, and we can no longer have the fox guarding the hen house.
Congressman, you sit on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. Back in May, you met with President Biden as he stumped in Louisiana for his infrastructure plan, which you endorsed and voted for. 3 months later, your state has been battered by Hurricane Ida, as it has been countless storms. And that's predicted to worsen due to climate change. What do you tell your constituents, weary from seeing their lives disrupted again, when they ask you how this plan will improve their lives?
Well, I would say that the one thing that we will do more than anything else is make sure that we correct the inequities that we saw during Katrina, where communities of Black and brown were disproportionately left out of the discussion, or certainly not given the same level of resources as others. And we are going to make sure that doesn't happen again. We've had great conversations with the president on his recent visit as we walk through communities in my district, with the administrator of FEMA. Just a few days ago, we had Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Marcia Fudge, here on the ground, walking through and seeing firsthand, demonstrating that it will not be business as usual. We have gone round and round with FEMA and making sure that we're tweaking and we're fixing many of the problems that we found. I'm confident that the President of the United States, when he says that he is going to put the full faith and credit of the United States behind rebuilding Louisiana, and not only rebuilding it, but building it back better. This infrastructure plan that we're navigating now is a plan that should be, by all accounts, recognized as a bipartisan, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to rebuild our infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, but also those social infrastructures, housing, opportunities for broadband, creating opportunities for economic development, and making sure that all parts of the community have an opportunity to participate in the rebuilding of our devastated state.
I'm out of time, but Congressman, quickly, please. You represent St. James Parish, home to several of the industrial plants that make up your state's so-called Cancer Alley. We had EPA Administrator Michael Regan with us last weekend, and I brought up the recently stalled push to bring a $10 million plastics complex to the region, viewed by many residents, activists, and elected officials as an immense environmental threat in a district where cancer rates are 50 times the national average, according to the EPA. The permit for the project was suspended last month by the Biden administration, pending a review. But as you weigh economic needs versus environmental justice, is it realistic that even a smaller version of such a project could come to your district and not add to sickness like this?
Listen, we know that there has been significant issues with plants up and down the river. We know that the residents have had legitimate concerns about the carcinogens that are released into the air. But we also know that with proper enforcement, with the use of technology, carbon capture, and many others, that we're able to balance that to make sure that a person should not have to and will not have to literally die for their job. When we balance economy over the environmental concern, we have to make sure that we balance it and put the community at the forefront to make sure that people aren't dying for their jobs, making sure that we are bringing those polluters to justice and cleaning neighborhoods while recognizing that commerce will be commerce and we should support it, but not over the safety and well-being of people who live in those communities.
And the lives of the people in those communities. Thank you, Congressman Troy Carter, for